Hi there, welcome back. And welcome to the grand finale of this Philips BX626Z. And I'm happy to say that the job seems to be complete. And I'm happy to say that I am very, very satisfied with the result. As you can probably see, everything turned out beautifully. All the knobs cleaned out perfectly. That one knob that had a missing clamp inside has been adjusted by fitting a little piece of cardboard in there. This front border has been repainted. It was spotted in a few places. There's a bit of residue here which will be cleaned up, obviously. The case itself was just polished and then put some wax on it, because it really did not warrant going down to more drastic measures. And anyway, this is not wood, so if I tried to sand it down, I'd mess it up. And let's have a closer look and see what the result has been, and then we'll do a reception test. As you can probably see, the knobs came out perfectly. Grill cloth seems to fit quite well, although it is a little bit dim, a little bit light, so it doesn't contrast too much with the dial itself, but I am convinced that it's going to darken. All the plastics were cleaned out properly, not a stain left. The indicators are all working except the bottom one, which, as I mentioned, I'd have to make, and it would look like a bit of an artificial thing, so I left it out. It's a particular band which we don't receive anything on in Madeira anyway. The back also came out beautifully. There wasn't much to do really, because the back panel was in very, very good condition. But what we do have is all the screws been de-rusted. As you can see, they came out perfectly. Those as well. But as you can see, this thing came out perfectly, and the label is still here. The other thing is polishing of the sockets, and we'll get back to that in a second. You see those brass sockets? You polish them out, they come out fantastically. Now, this is actually the phono input, and as you can see, it's got one of these dual banana plugs, and this wire is actually from the Bluetooth device that's inserted inside. I decided to connect it like this so that it's completely removable from the radio, and it doesn't really make any alterations to the originality of the set. But I've also got a red dot on there and a red mark on the socket, so you know this thing goes in like that and not the other way around. Although the other way around wouldn't do it any damage, because the ground is only connected at this point. So if I did it in reverse, basically what's going to happen is you're getting AC based on a negative voltage rail rather than a positive voltage rail. Doesn't make any difference. But anyway, this is the convention, and that just fits in there. It also means that you can fit if you had an old gramophone, you just fit it in anyway. But that's the back. Time to look inside if we can. You may recall that taking the back off is not as simple as all that, because we've got that switching over there. That is the off battery or mains switch, and I'll show you and explain that in a minute. But otherwise, as you can see, everything's been cleaned up and fitted back together perfectly. And then of course there's another new addition to this, which is this Bluetooth receiver. The Bluetooth receiver that I described in, I think, 2 videos ago has been tied on here with a clip tie. And the reason I put it at the back here is to keep it away from the radio section, and also to make sure that the antenna, which is over here, is reachable from any or from as far away as possible. And then the power supply, this line here, goes to the connection at the back there. That yellow on the left, that's where the heater voltage lights up that dial lamp. And the audio comes out the bottom. There's the cable going down to the bottom, and it goes back out here into that plug, as I mentioned. So basically this is it. Everything's cleaned out, everything's polished, everything's tested. Let me put this back on and explain that battery option to you. As it turns out, there's really not much to explain here, for the simple reason that there's a part missing, and I think some of you may have realized this already. This battery option, which you can get if you do that, it says there 6 volts. Now that would be a some sort of car battery, would have had an inverter built in externally, which would then plug into here, and this then goes into the B+. So what you're actually getting going in here, I believe, and I haven't confirmed that, but I believe would be a B+ DC. So this thing bypasses transformer because your battery is through the inverter action, whether it's the vibrator type or something else, it would have produced about 260 volts DC from the battery, and that would go in there with a special plug. And we don't have that special plug. The owner doesn't remember seeing it lying around, or, I mean, this hasn't been used for so many years, they just have no idea what might have happened to it. But that would be an off option there, and that would be the mains option, which is where we leave it all the time. So unfortunately, we don't get to see a vibrator type inverter in the circuit, which I expected to see originally, as you may recall if you saw the start of the series. But that's as simple as an explanation as I can get. It's an external unit which they don't have anymore. Now it's time to give this a reception test. It is about, I think it's about 7:30 or 8 p.m. in Madeira. I'm not sure. I know the medium wave should be pretty busy, and one of the shortwave bands will be pretty busy. So let's see what we get. I've switched it on. It's warmed up. The dial lamps are actually on. It's on band 1, medium wave, which is that top dial over there. This man is angry. As I repeatedly state, this is the 1 AM channel, medium wave channel, transmitting from Madeira. It's on 1530 kilohertz, and this thing receives perfectly. That is in English. I have no idea where that comes from. If it's coming from the UK, that's one hell of a long shot. This would probably be Morocco, Canary Islands.
Los últimos 5 minutos. En el mundo, en el diario lee. Pero de verdad. مسؤولية جماعية الوكالة الوطنية لمحاربة الأمية والشركاء ديالها مع الاتحاد الأوروبي دايرين يد في يد من أجل محاربة الأمية.
That there is the base activate switch. That's to cut it off. The Treble still works, obviously.
Tanto es para atrás, la ventaja. Coutinho cae solo, Coutinho que cae, pero cae muy fuera del área.
And that was medium wave. Band 2, as I mentioned, is this bottom one here. And that's the one that goes from, it goes up to 5 megahertz, from 1.6 or so to 5 megahertz. And usually I don't get anything on here. Let's just check. A few of those things. That's band 2. Now band 3 starts at 5 megahertz and goes all the way to 9.3 megahertz. That is 32 meters to 60 meters. So let's see what we've got there. I'll show you how this thing works. You see we've got a bit of a bundle over here. Difficult to tune in, so we go to this.
Центр сотрудничества с Россией. Об этом объявлено на прошедшем здесь 11... Это единственная в Китае зона государственного уровня, ориентированная...
See that? You leave it in the congested position and then you fine tune it on this.
внешних связей,
commerciale pour faciliter administration. I think sometimes these agendas are even competing with each other.
Ja, LOEWE-OPTA.
That is one of the amateur bands. We're on 40 something meters.
Contigo na próxima meia hora e passar os momentos agradáveis de sua companhia. Et ensuite, il y a tout un travail qui se fait entre les deux, qui évolue au fil du temps. J'ai plein de fois
Surpresa avec le vice-ministro degli esteri Gates l'ha comunicato.
And that was band 3. So pretty busy on the commercial bands. We actually got a bit of a muffled chipmunk talk on the 40-meter amateur band. So at this time of night it's actually pretty lively, and as you can see, using the fine tuning you can actually pick it up very, very well and focus in on whatever it is you want to listen. Lots to listen to. Whether you want to is a different story. Okay, we'll try band 4 now. See what we get. Band 4 goes from 23 to 33 meters, so 9.1 megahertz to 13 megahertz.
بتصادف كل الشباب اللي بيقول لأول مرة إن في بعض أرباب الأعمال
That's it, not too much on there. All right, let's carry on. Let's try band 5. Band 5 is the one that goes from 17 megahertz to 17 meters to 25.87 meters, so 11.6 megahertz to 17.6 megahertz. And 5 is over here. We're starting at the 17 meter band, 17 meter section.
Elections. And then if you look at what's happening potentially in North Korea, the jury is still out on how that is resolved. Progress, and there have been steps backward. But I think win for the administration if it continues to go in the
Rowan's beliefs, experiences, I had an old slingback, some 30s leather chair in my room, which I now.
Bernard Bachelet, technique du réalisateur de la série.
Organization affiliated with a think tank based here in Washington. We're discussing Republican prospects as we approach the November congressional election.
C'est plus qu'on ne l'imagine, parfois depuis Paris.
Dos formas en función del contexto.
الله سبحانه وتعالى وبما ألهمه الحافظ وقد رتل ما تيسر من سورتي الشعراء والنمل.
And that was the 5th band. Again, pretty lively and pretty loud and pretty clear. So I'm actually surprised. Usually this time of night you don't get that much on there. We tried band 6, which we shouldn't get much at all, but we'll see. Okay, band 6. Now that's really high frequencies. Band 6 goes from 17.6 megahertz to 27.3 megahertz. I'd expect something down near the 17s, but certainly not much higher. Something there, but can't really make it out. Lots of noise. And as expected, not much there at all. So that gives you an overview of the reception on this thing. I have to bear in mind, I have to remind you, I'm using a mini whip antenna outside. I live on the top floor of a building, so this is on the roof of the building. It's about 1.5 meters above the roof line. Nothing very big, that's the whole point of the mini whip, but it does increase reception dramatically compared to the long wire that I used to have before. Now, the problem with this is that I can receive all that, but my friend certainly won't have that kind of antenna in place, which means that she probably will never hear this radio picking up like it has today, unless she goes for the antenna option. But anyway, that is reception. There's one more thing we have to try, of course, and that is the Bluetooth. Let's give it a go. First thing we need to do is make sure we pair this thing. So I go to Bluetooth options. My Bluetooth is on. H166 is indeed connected. And it's connected because it switched on by itself at the back there when I powered it, when I powered the radio. So what we need to do is select that button there, which puts it in pickup option. Put the volume significantly higher because obviously the pickup would have been a very high level pickup. So to compensate for that, you actually do have to give this quite a bit more volume when you're using the pickup option. Now all I need to do is find some royalty-free music and we're ready to go. So I'm going into the audio library of the YouTube site, royalty-free. Let's try something like, I think I've actually done that one before. Okay, I'm putting it on play, giving it some volume here. There we go. And I can decrease my volume here. I can control it here. Whatever I do here, basically I'm controlling what's going to the Bluetooth. Volume control here, tone control. And our Bluetooth's working. And I previously tested this for something that's very important when you put Bluetooth on a radio like this, and that is for buzz. So you put this thing on Bluetooth, you hit pause on your music, put the volume on max, and you should hear no buzzing. And indeed we hear no buzzing, because usually the digital noise from the Bluetooth receiver can actually get into your radio section or your amplifier section, and you'll hear the buzzing coming through, and it's very annoying. This thing is working fantastically. Now bear in mind this volume is 3/4 of the way up, okay? When you put this at full volume, it is very loud. Very loud for listening in a room, very loud for the actual speaker that it's got in there. It's a very good speaker, but you have to be, well, you have to be reasonable. It's not a 100 watt full range speaker in there. It's something for lower power, and that's what this radio is supposed to be used for. So that's the final stage of this restoration. I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. As I said, this thing posed a few challenges. I'm glad that I took it on, because you always learn something new, and I look forward to returning this to my friend and hopefully seeing a glow in her eye. And especially when her daughter discovers that this thing has got Bluetooth on it, which she hasn't been told. So thank you for watching. If you like this, please subscribe. It does boost the ego. And if you like it, hit the thumbs up sign. And I will see you back soon for the next restoration. Bye for now.